Hi folks, welcome back to Stacey Can. Today I am making plum preserves. And I got this recipe from the Ball new and updated complete book of home preserving. And make sure to get the new and updated version because they're you always want the most current version. Great recipes in there, and this is not an exception by any means. Nice and tart plums if you enjoy that, which is just going to make a lovely preserve, which would be wonderful as a dessert topping over like cheesecake or ice cream. You can also mix it in with your overnight oats or some Greek yogurt or regular yogurt. Just kind of mix it all together. That would be delicious. Eat it with a spoon. Fantastic glaze, whatever, however you enjoy plums. So while I go over all the information here, please follow along down below in the show notes with the recipe, and you can also hit like and subscribe while you're down there because that does help. The ingredients are, it's very simple. 5 cups of plums that are tart, pitted, and halved, meaning we got to cut these in half and take the pits out. 4 cups of sugar and a cup of water. Oh, that's it. Really simple. The tools, we need a ladle, a jar lifter. I do have a chopstick because I might be bubbling. I gotta see though, depending on how thick it is, because this does get thick. The Headspace tool, my lid lifter, because I am warming the lids up a little bit. I've got a funnel, got a knife, and a measuring cup. And then I'm just using my stock pot because it only makes about 5 8-ounce jars, of which are half pints. And but I do have, I'm probably gonna be putting some in a pint because I didn't have enough little small half pints because I've been doing a lot of canning and I thought I had more and I don't. So improvising a little bit, using a little bit bigger of a jar, which is okay to do. You just can't use can't use quarts. So just keep that in mind. And that's it. So you just need a canner, or in this case, I'm using my stock pot. I do have a silicone trivet that I put at the bottom of the stock pot. And so if you don't have a canner and you're going to use a stock pot, these are the measurements that you got to think about before proceeding, making sure that you have, and you can put rings down at the bottom if you want. Oh, that's another thing, other tools, other equipment as you know, lids and rings and jars. You can use a layer of rings down at the bottom of this to prop the jars up, because you can't have the jars flush to the bottom of the pan. They need to have some a barrier between that so that they're for a better heat distribution. You can even use a towel. Some people use like a little terry cloth towel or a washcloth or something. Just you want to prop it up about a good ½ inch or so up from the bottom, and then making sure that once the jars are in there that you can put an inch of water over the top as well. So with all of that, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I'm going to do is get the dry stuff all measured out, and the only dry stuff we have here is the sugar. I like to do the dry stuff first because often I'm using measuring spoons and such, and it's just a little bit easier to do the dry stuff while everything's still dry. To cut the plums in half, you just want to first take the stem out, which I did, if there is a stem, and then you just want to follow, there's a seam that goes down one side of the plum. You want to follow that seam. So you just run your knife through until you hit the pit. You don't want to cut it so hard that you go through the pit. And then just give it a twist after you do that. And you see there's the pit. Look at how beautiful and red that is. Oof, isn't that pretty? And so you want to just kind of run your knife around the edge of the pit. Be careful not to cut yourself. This can be kind of a little bit of a bummer if you cut yourself. And it pops out like so. And that's how you do it. Got my 5 cups of plums here that are pitted and halved. I'm adding in the 4 cups of sugar. I know, that hurts, but you know, sugar is a preservative. And then the 1 cup of water. I'm gonna bring the heat up to medium high and give this a stir just until we start to have a boil. And then we'll kick it up to high to get a rolling boil going. So we got the mixture here boiling, and it's boiling hard, which is what you want. And I'm gonna continue to boil it until it thickens up, and it's starting to thicken. Okay, so we've got it kind of thick here. You can do a gel test at this point if you want, but I'm not going to because I don't really care. You can also skim off this foam if you would like to do that as well. As you know, I don't care about that, so I'm not going to skim off the foam. If you want tidy looking preserves, then you can do it yourself. That's my philosophy in my home. So I'm gonna start by getting a jar out of the stock pot over here. These jars have been heating up. They've been cleaned and sanitized. And remember, you don't want to put a hot item into a cold jar. You can shock the jar. So, and we are filling this to a 1/4 of an inch Headspace. I'm gonna move the spoon here. And oh my goodness, this really does smell good. And now I am, because they are a preserve and it's not quite a jam and it's still a little runny, I'm gonna run my chopstick around the edge of the jar here. And it's not quite at a 1/4 of an inch, so I am going to add a little bit more liquid here. I think I got it. Yep, got it. And I have a paper towel here that I've folded up. And I'm just going to use it to clean the rim, like so. Get my lid lifter. Jar lids that have heated up just a little bit. You don't want them super hot. And just gonna tighten this fingertip tight. That's all you want to do is fingertip tight. And then I'm going to pick it up like so, just up and over and into the canner. Do not tip or tilt. I got the canner filled up here, or the stock pot in this case, and I've set the heat up to high. And double checking, making sure that the water is an inch over the top of my jars, and it is. I'm gonna cover it and get it to a rolling boil. We've got a rolling boil going here in the stock pot or canner, and I set the timer for 15 minutes for my altitude. For more altitude information for your location, you can look up off to the side here or down below in the show notes for more information. 15-minute timer went off for my altitude, so I'm cutting the heat. And then I'm very carefully lifting the lid. You want to lift the lid away from your face, like so. Because all that steam there, that'll give you a facial you do not want. And I'm going to set another timer for 5 minutes. This is going to give the opportunity for the food in the jars to settle, and it helps with the sealing process. 5-minute timer has gone off to let the food settle. I'm going to carefully lift the jars out of the pot, the stock pot here. And you don't want to tip or tilt, you just want to go up and over. And this is how we preserve some plums. And oh my heart, are they delicious. They're very, very tasty. Very good. Sweet, yet still has that tartness in the plum flavor there. So they're very good. Really worth the time, and it would be a nice addition to your pantry. And again, you can put it over a dessert topping or mix it in with the smoothie or as a glaze. You could even use some of the juice. The juice would be really, really good for a salad dressing too. So you can save some of that liquid that's in there and add a little bit of olive oil and some vinegar and some salt and pepper. That's pretty much all you need. And it'll give a real kind of sweet salad dressing for your liking, or marinade, whatever. That's a good way to do a marinade too. So, the recipe for this is down below in the show notes, and while you're down there, please hit like and questions, comments, suggestions, feedback, concerns, by all means, please reach out to me. I'm on Facebook at Stacey Can. You can have me on Instagram and TikTok at Stacey Can. My website is www.staceycancan.com, and my email is info@staceycancan.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn at Stacey